Ladies and gentlemen, namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 170th episode. Let's talk about handling teen irritation.
So, when I think about teen irritation, I think you probably want to define it. So the quick Google definition, it talks about when teens become irritable because they develop an identity that's separate from their parents. And it happens when the teens begin to distance themselves, they look for more privacy, they become defensive. And anytime they're asked what are they doing, they become uncomfortable, and it's normal.
Do not delve deeper into the cause. We straight away try to counsel the child, speak to the child, and do whatever as an adult we are supposed to do. We try to parent them and counsel them without knowing the actual cause. So knowing the actual cause is very important.
In any case, there are many things that you can do to minimize the impact on yourself as well as the productivity of the team. Especially if I will talk about as a manager, first is a limit interaction with the problem, people to small doses.
So in my opinion, so we should try to know the level of the stress before we deal with their irritation. And the level of stress may be the difference. So according to their level of problem and according to the situation.
And most of the time, the irritation is because of the fact that, the major thing is the hormonal changes that they are going through. That is one point. And second point is, they are coming to a world where they have seen a lot of dreams while they are in school. Looking at movies and looking at, those serials and all those things where the college life or university life is shown as, very graceful and a lot of things. So they come up with a lot of those things, and, they find it like a bit shock when they enter the colleges and universities.
Ladies and gentlemen, namaste and a very warm welcome to all of you to the Blub World Web Talks 170th episode. In the last 169 episodes, we have heard to more than 3,000 school leaders on this very platform where they have shared their ideas, opinions, innovations, and what all new are they doing in the education space. आप सभी का स्वागत है ब्लब वर्ल्ड वेब टॉक्स के 170वें एपिसोड में. इसके पहले 169 एपिसोड्स में करीबन 3,000 से ज्यादा स्कूल लीडर्स इसी प्लेटफॉर्म पर आकर अपने आइडियाज, ओपिनियंस और इनोवेशंस शेयर कर चुके हैं हमारे साथ, ताकि और बहुत सारे स्कूल्स उनके आइडियाज को सीख सकें, एम्यूलेट कर सकें और खुद भी ग्रो कर सकें. We are trying to build the world's biggest repository of education ideas in the K-12 space, or simply an idea dictionary or directory for schools across the world. So today we'll be talking about one more such topic from which you can also use its learnings within your institutions, within your organizations to enhance the teaching and learning process. Before I invite the first guest for today, let me introduce you to the platform. Blub World Web Talks as a platform has been participated by nearly 3,000 plus school leaders and has created an exposure of nearly 100,000 plus school leaders from across the world who have viewed us, listened to us, or in some or the other way used our ideas within their institutions. आज अगले 60 मिनटों में हम आपसे बातचीत करेंगे on a very special topic. But before we start, the Blub World Web Talks is a bilingual platform, so you can use English or Hindi, any of these two languages in your conversation. Try sticking to these two. Please don't use a third one because I might not get it, but you can still do it. So most importantly, think of the Blub World Web Talks as a speaking sprint, not as a speaking marathon. So once your speaking time is over, you might get muted. If you get muted, please don't get offended. It's simply to make the complete engagement more crisp and more entertaining for everyone. So thank you so much, all the amazing speakers, for joining us today. Let's start talking about something that influences and impacts nearly everyone in the education space. And we all want to always know some or the other idea that could make our lives a little bit simpler and easier. Let's talk about handling teen irritation. आपके आसपास जो किशोर हैं वो जब इरिटेट हो जाते हैं तो इनका इरिटेशन आप कैसे झेलें, उन्हें कैसे टैकल करें और एजुकेशन इकोसिस्टम में टीचिंग लर्निंग कैसे कंटिन्यू हो पाए. So today in the next 60 minutes we'll try to know from our amazing experts that how should we be handling teenagers who are irritated out of some or the other cause, and how can these ideas make your life simpler? So today, when we start, let's have somebody who comes from the school education space, who himself is a school leader and has done his research typically around teenagers. He comes from the US. He's a principal in the US. So let's try to have his understanding from the research aspect and at the same time from the execution aspect of it as a school leader. A very warm welcome, Dr. Paul Miller, the CEO for the Green Tech Charter School from Albany, New York, USA. Paul, over to you for the next 3 minutes to initiate the topic on handling teen irritation.
Well, thank you guys again for having me back. It's an honor and a privilege to be back with you guys. It's great to be on this international platform and be exposed to so many different thoughts and so many different leaders. You know, when I think about teen irritation, I think you probably want to define it. So the quick Google definition, it talks about when teens become irritable because they develop an identity that's separate from their parents. And it happens when the teens begin to distance themselves, they look for more privacy, they become defensive. And anytime they're asked what are they doing, they become uncomfortable, and it's normal. So this is a stage that almost all teens go through. But then couple that with some of the other issues and problems that teens may be facing. So not only are they trying to form their own identity, they also may be facing poverty. There's teens who are facing homelessness. There are teens that are facing issues of domestic violence within their household. There's all kinds of issues that our teens are facing, but we never know actually what's going through their minds and their hearts. And so the biggest thing with teen irritation, I believe that it's about giving them the space to grow, but it's also informing them that you care. It's about building relationships with the teens, showing them that you care, and being an outlet and being a support for the teens so that you can make sure that they don't stray too far away. Even though they want to be separate, you make sure that they don't stray too far away. And so again, I put a lot of responsibility on the adults here to build the relationships, especially educators. So educators, I employ you to, even though not to turn your back on the teens who are disgruntled or irritated, because at once we were those teens. We were those teens, and we need to remember that we were those teens. And instead of becoming angry and turning our backs on them, how can you build relationships and support them in their journey through becoming an adult? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. I think you gave the topic a very nice start. You touched on 2 or 3 aspects of the topic when you started with teens typically get irritated when they want to create a separate identity for themselves, because they want to create a space for themselves within the community that they are in. But at the same time, when they become irritated or are irritable at this point, we must remember that the teen that we are handling could be already having a multitude of issues that we do not know of. So always try to delve a little bit deeper, try to understand what he's going through, give him the space to grow, but remember, don't let them stray away. You as an adult are much more responsible for his growth than he himself is, because you are the one who has the right kind of understanding, the right kind of ecosystem that you can provide him that could nurture his growth. Thank you so much, Paul. Let me invite the next speaker for today to share her ideas with us. A very warm welcome, Mrs. Ipsita Banerjee, Principal of Dalmas Sunbeam School from Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh. Ipsita ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Thank you so much. Extremely elated, honored, privileged to be amidst esteemed educators all over the world. And thank you for giving me a chance to put forward my views regarding the topic today, that is handling teen irritation. Now, apart from being an educator, I'm also a mother, and a mother of a teenager son, right? So, you know, the experiential learning that I have gained is enormous. And I would like to jot down rather 8 steps as a mother and as an educationist. I have jotted down 8 steps in handling teen irritation. Step 1, rightly said Mr. Daksh Gaur, that we have to delve deeper into the cause. Find out the reason why the child is getting irritated. Why is he losing temper? Why is he throwing tantrums? So we have to delve deeper into the cause. We have to touch the roots. And what is it we need to diagnose? Whether it's peer pressure, whether it's not able to concentrate on studies, whether it is an inferiority complex, whether it is a relationship issue that is bothering him, or it's just the natural hormonal change. So what we usually do is we do not delve deeper into the cause. We straight away try to counsel the child, speak to the child, and do whatever as an adult we are supposed to do. We try to parent them and counsel them without knowing the actual cause. So knowing the actual cause is very important. Maybe the child's best friend has got an iPhone and he is there with a normal keypad mobile phone. So that is raising his inferiority complex, and he cannot share with anybody. Maybe the economic condition of the parents is such that the parents cannot afford to give him an Android phone. So where does he go? So he's throwing tantrums. So we need to understand, delve deeper, that what exactly is the cause that is creating the irritation in the teenager. Step 2 is don't snap. We are never supposed to raise our voice when we are dealing with such issues, such teenagers. So we have to lower down our voice, keep our cool, and obviously, when we keep our cool and listen to them patiently, they will also try to keep their cool, and they will try to tell you what exactly is the problem. Where is it that the shoe pinches? Step 3, practice the pause. If things get too heated up during the course of discussion, then we need to press a pause button. We need to say that, okay, things have gotten really heated up. So let's chill for today. We'll get back in some other day and we'll begin with this discussion. So as an adult, we'll have to understand.
Thank you so much, Ipsita ji. The first 3 minutes were over, but we'll again try to come back to you. It's a timed platform, so from time to time, speakers get muted. Please don't get offended. It's just to keep the activity crisp. Let me try to summarize what you said and some of the important points that you brought to the table. Delving deeper into the cause, finding the reason. And I think one thing that you mentioned that's quite bang on is we normally start solving a problem without even knowing it. We give teenagers a treatment that we have read, that we understand, and we start implementing it rather than really understanding what's the specific case that the student is going through. Secondly, don't snap at them. That's what normally happens, because when a teenager gets irritated, his reactions are very crude and sometimes super rude, and we get offended very easily. Don't get offended. Take a pause, take some time to think, delve deeper into the individual, and I think you might be able to go to the next steps in the process of solving his irritation. Thank you so much, ma'am. Let me invite the next speaker for today, Dr. Raghavender Kumar Dwivedi, Principal of Dalmia Vidya Mandir from Rajgangapur from Odisha, India. Raghavender ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself, and a very warm welcome.
Namaskar, sir. It is a pleasure to be here. Khushi was following me since last 1 week. Unfortunately, sometimes I was busy and sometimes he was busy. So the keynote topic, I got topic just 1 minute before, but even then I will try to speak. In my career in schooling, I have found that people who you work with make all the difference. So if everyone works well together, you all feel a sense of job satisfaction. But if people in a team is irritating you or any other person, and the whole environment becomes toxic, killing your motivation and the productivity of the team also. So everyone thinks this is the management or the other person's problem. Yes, yet as a business advisor or institutional advisor, often investigating a few of these situations, I often found that both sides we see the situation differently. Thus, you might be irritating or annoying other people without even realizing. In any case, there are many things that you can do to minimize the impact on yourself as well as the productivity of the team, Especially if I will talk about the as a manager, first is a limit interaction with the problem, people to small doses. Second is can they adopt your approaches too much that the style of the other person. Third is I can say define the adhere to role and relationship boundaries. It is easy to forget that all members of the team are the peer, especially if you are being there longer, are expert in your specialty. So treat all with respect and remember that the managers has the different tool. Find it neutral time and ground the discuss boundaries and all have been crossed. And then constant on your meeting time before starting. So many irritating interactions are the results of the rest or perspective in complete discussion, I can say. If you have other commitment pending, such as a meeting about the sorts or phone calls schedules, then you can have a personal discussion. Be aware of the body language. Speak loudly or than what you do. And that last, what I can say, treat all the team members comparatively and consistently. Any team members don't know what random action to be expect from you on the next interaction. You may part of the problem rather than the part of the solution. So I think these are the some points which I wanted to discuss you. And finally, if I can say, your ability to work effectively with the potentiality annoying team members is a perfect indicator of your future ability to manage an organization, rise in your career, or build your own business as an entrepreneur. If it's not all this different, that adopting a different non-working situation or anything. Remember that you cannot change others, but you can change themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Raghavender, for sharing your views with us. Let me invite the next speaker, Mr. Surendra Bikram Prajapati, founder principal of Vinayak Shiksha Niketan Secondary School from Bhaktapur, Nepal. Surendra ji, over to you for the next 3 minutes. Please unmute yourself and a very warm welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Namaste and good evening to you all, and hello from Nepal. Okay. I feel great honor to attend today's this web talk program organized by Blub World. So thanks, Blub World team, for giving me such a opportunity to speak on handling teens irritation. So all the teen irritation may not be bad. Okay. Sometimes it may be good for us also. So during my 32 years of working experience with teenagers at my schools, teen irritation or angerness, teen angerness is also symptom of a mental health issue. So it generates automatically due to the stress and pressure of adolescence. Now question is how to deal with this teen irritation. So it always very tough job and challenging tasks for both parents and teachers. So yeah, in my opinion, so we should try to know the level of the stress before we deal with their irritation. And the level of stress may be the difference. So according to their level of problem and according to the situation. So they also show the different behavior and gestures. So according to their stress level. And that's why it's very important to know the level of the stress. And the parents and teachers should deal with such a angry teenagers according to their level of the stress. And secondly, let's try to know the reason behind and why the teenagers are getting angry and why they are being irritated. So there may be the different reason. There may be their personal problem, personal stress, and maybe that stress due to the others, and maybe the parents and teachers pressure. And it's very important to know the reason behind their irritation or angriness. and do not judge and no advice, and do not scold them when they show such a angriness. We must listen to them, and we must listen to their problem, and we must empower and help them to solve their problem. So just, saying do this and don't do this, and it may not work. So yeah, when teenagers are on angry situation, be polite and closer to them, and be friend and with the teenagers to normalize their angriness and situation. So be good parents and be good teachers to all the teenagers. And thank you very much once again for giving me such a wonderful opportunity. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Surendra Bikramji from Nepal, for sharing your thoughts with us on this topic. So now let's invite somebody who comes from the higher education space, because they come with a different kind of an experience, because they handle different kind of teenagers in a completely different mind frame and with a lot of freedom in their hands and a lot of decision making that they have within themselves. So very warm welcome, Dr. Professor Rhishikesh Dave, the Dean, School of Law, Marwadi University, Rajkot, Gujarat. And before I actually invite you to speak, since you come from the legal background, when the whole of India is forcing children to come online, to study online, and all the schools and everybody is trying to put in or plug in the digital education bandwagon into the school, don't you think India also needs a child online user protection legislation? Because we, as of now, do not have that. So I would want your perspective on these two things. First, on how to handle teens, and secondly, is there a good enough legislation that helps teenagers online? Over to you, sir. The next 3 minutes are yours. A very warm welcome.
Thank you. And thank you for inviting me to this forum. Although I feel that I'm a little bit out of this world, and especially with people who are so much experienced, with teens, the school principals and teachers. But we also, at university, get teenagers in our courses. And most of the time, the irritation is because of the fact that, the major thing is the hormonal changes that they are going through. That is one point. And second point is, they are coming to a world where they have seen a lot of dreams while they are in school. Looking at movies and looking at, those serials and all those things where the college life or university life is shown as, very graceful and a lot of things. So they come up with a lot of those things, and, they find it like a bit shock when they enter the colleges and universities. And also the fact that they feel that, they have their own ideas, they have their own identities, they have their own thought process. And when we are not in conformity with them, it ends up in irritation. So the best way of handling this thing is, number one, as most of the speakers said before me, is to listen to them, and try to understand and try to relate. That is the most important part. Once you start listening to them, most of the problems which they come to me is with regards to, this particular faculty is being, partial, and, he hates me, and this particular faculty is not my friend, and all those things which they come. So generally, we try to listen to them, patiently. We try to make them, and then, the next step is to relate with them. Tell them that, okay, oh yes, मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ था. मैं जब कॉलेज में था, मैं जब स्कूल में था, मेरे साथ भी ऐसा हुआ था, लेकिन मैंने क्या किया था? And then I tried to come up with a solution. Although probably, I should not say, because this will go to everyone, that probably I may be bluffing about that particular incident that I'm talking about. But yes, that gives them a reassurance that, okay, there is someone who has gone through this process which I am going through. And then he tries to listen to us, and then he tries to understand and do what we say. because we have only 3 minutes, so I'm trying to get it very quickly. So this is only one solution that I can provide you. And with regard to legislation, let me put it this way, that we have proper legislations. Okay. And the problem is that there is no effective control or implementation of those legislation. I mean, the Information Technology Act itself is self-sufficient to control all the issues which we are facing as of now. The only thing is that we are not equipped technically enough, as a state, as a government, to tackle all these issues. And second thing is that parents has to be very, very careful. Of course, I mean, legislations are there. Okay. Only thing is, two things. One is implementation. Second is awareness. Right. If people are not aware, what are the avenues that they can go through, how they can file a complaint or whom they can approach. And another thing is, parents has to be very, very careful when their childs are into digital world, what they're clicking and what they're opening and what they're not doing. So, because, I mean, regulating too much, I mean, the internet world will also be violation of another laws. So that is what I say, that there are laws. Only thing is, we have to create awareness about these things. Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rhishikesh. Yes, implementation of the legislation is also a critical part of it, not just having a legislation. So till now, we have tried to, listen to all the speakers for the first 3 minutes with their introduction thoughts. Now it's an open floor. If you are speaking something, if you got muted, if you want to add something to the conversation, this is your time. You can unmute yourself. I think Ipsita ji was speaking on the 8 steps of controlling teen irritation. So if you want, you can unmute yourself and you can complete the next part of your statement that you're giving at that point. And anybody else wants to add in at this point, it's an open floor. You can take your time at this moment.
Right. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for my second life. I would straight away go to step number 4, which is most important, I would say, and that is to listen. Coming to speaking, we are all very good speakers. We can articulate, we can modulate, we can, express our emotions and feelings. But coming to listening is a skill. And unfortunately, this skill is present within very few, maybe handful. So while handling the teenagers, the irritation of the teenagers, we have to be very, very good listeners. We have to validate their feelings. That does not mean that we agree with them. That means that we are understanding what concerns them, what matters to them, where the shoe pinches. So when they speak up, when they pour out their problems and where the shoe actually pinches, it gives them a sigh of relief. They feel relieved. They feel that they have been listened to and therefore they are being given due respect. We have to understand that as adolescents, as teenagers, they also command respect as individuals. Times have changed, right? So we have to cater to the present generation. So we will also have to think, keep aside our mindset, and we'll have to think what this generation is actually thinking about. Number 5, model healthy emotions. If I am shouting, if I'm screaming, if I'm yelling, and I do not have a control on my temper, then what am I modeling to my son, to my adolescent son? So modeling perfect or correct emotions is very important because they will emulate us. Step number 6, stop babying your teen. I've seen this n number of times that the teenager, adolescent, and then you continuously baby your teen. That's very embarrassing for the child as well because he feels that he's grown up and he has to be given due importance in taking decisions. He has to take decisions like, "Acha beta, tell me, what do you want to have for dinner today? What will mama cook for you in dinner today? Where do you want to go for a summer vacation? Or some added responsibilities in the school council, right? So the decision making thing has to be incorporated in the child so that the child feels that, oh, I am important. My decision stands somewhere. And number 7, set anger limits. We will have to tell the teenager that it is not okay to throw things, to use cuss words, or to get physically aggressive when you are angry. The child has to know it, and we have to tell them, right? We have to be candid, and we have to be straightforward and bold enough. And last but not the least, I found that there are certain things which the teenagers can follow, like, they can make vlogs, right? If they can make good vlogs, then their energy, their depression is channelized. If they are writing journals, right, writing blogs, and they are listening to music, right, they are somewhere like hitting a punching bag if they are very angry. So that is a places they can really vent out their anger, and they can relax themselves after that. So deep breathing, reverse counting from 20 to 1, meditation. So these are constructive options of handling teen pressure. Thank you so much, Mr. Daksh, for giving me the second chance to speak.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Ipsita.
so
And I
much.
think you added quite a lot of good content or points in the complete discussion. The next question that I have for all our speakers today, that handling teen irritation. And at this point, when we look at teenagers, why do we always look at them as not at par with us? Why do we always want to baby them? What Ipsita ji just pointed out, that why is our approach always didactic when we want to tackle them? And do you have a counter approach to this? I would want to get Paul into this, that what would be a better approach rather than babying them, or always trying to be didactic in your approach in teaching them or handling their emotional outrage?
For me, I believe the approach would be empathy. So empathy heals, and they say sympathy kills. Okay, so sympathy is you're feeling sorry for them, and that's the babying. That's not going to help them to grow. But empathy is sharing that you're understanding, that you're caring, that you've had a similar thought experience, or at least that you understand the thought and the experience. And then empathy leads to a common ground. And then once you build a common ground and level that playing field, then you have the opportunity and the ability to help them to continue to grow. And so it's all about empathy over sympathy for me, and taking that approach will allow teens to reduce and lower their walls, and allow you to come into their space to be able to work with them to help them reach the next level of adulthood.
So don't sympathize, try to empathize, get into their shoes, try to understand things from their perspective. And that's the place, or that's the sweet spot that you want to reach, so that they can open up to you. Ipsita ji, you added a detailed understanding and a detailed view of how should exactly we be handling teenagers. Most of the times when we get into any form of conflict resolution between teenagers, or we get into handling their emotional stress, we normally end up hurting their self-esteem and in some ways blocking their creativity. So what should we be taking care of, that while we handle these things, we do not do these two damages?
A very pertinent question and a very valid question under the present scenario. First of all, I think that we as adults, we need to change our mindsets. We need to stop babying our teenagers, and we need to stop parenting at a certain age. Now, this also is a debatable question, that should we stop parenting or not? Some say that we should parent our children till eternity. Some would say no, after 18 or 16, they go out, and we should stop poking our noses. Now, this is again a debatable question. But the question, the issue that you are saying, that how to sustain their creativity so that it's a free flow for them. So that is a win-win situation. Well, I would say that whatever the child wants to do, whatever the child's creativity or aptitude is, right? Whether it's the child wants to be a choreographer, the parents may be doctors, but the child wants to be a choreographer. I had this kind of an issue when I was a vice principal. So, and the child was an excellent choreographer. He was an excellent dancer, and today he is a choreographer. So I had to convince the parents. I had to call the parents to my office, and I had to tell them that, look, you have to let your son follow his dreams. You cannot live your dreams through him. You have lived your life. So now it is his life. So he has to be happy, and you have to ensure that you make him happy. So you back him up. If his passion is dancing, let him follow his passion. Let him be a choreographer. If somebody wants to be a painter, an artist, let him follow that. So it all depends upon our mindset. If we have a conventional and a traditional approach that no, whatever I was, my son will also follow the same thing, that is wrong. First of all, we need to change our mindsets. Then automatically these things will come. And of course, the parents, once they understand that they have to nurture the child in their way, so they are ready to give them all kinds of support. So the child then is very happy. And if his productivity was 50%, after the parents' support, the productivity goes up to 100%. And he achieves great laurels in life. He started seeing the face of success. So this entire stakeholder, the school, the society, the parents, the teachers, the social network, the social environment, everything has to be supportive to each and every child so that the child does not get choked up. He's not never bogged up. He goes along with his passion. He can follow his dreams. And this is very important in today's world. Otherwise, we'll be having more and more number of suicides. I'm sorry to say that.
Let's not block them up. And when we talk of the Indian ecosystem or the Indian society, this is where the parent plays a very important role in the whole ecosystem, where the teenager decides things. Because when we talk of the US, the teen is already in a state where he's not ready to listen to his parents. But in India, that space is still left. But that's again debatable. That is that space good? Is that space bad? This is something that we'll have to, delve a little more deeper into. We were talking about when we look at the Indian society and societies across the world, the rights and the attitude that a teenager carries varies with the culture that we have. And with the kind of working environments that we're all getting into, where we talk of multinationals, multicultural organizations, do we really have a space? Do we really have an ecosystem which can nurture multicultural approach in teenagers? I want to take views from Rhishikesh ji first and then go to Paul on his opinion that do we really need a multicultural teen or still a monocultural teen works? Rhishikesh ji, over to you for your thoughts on this.
Okay, now let me tell you, at Marwadi University, we have students from almost 38 countries. Okay, starting from, almost all African countries and also almost all Asian countries, including Syria, Bangladesh, and also we have, as you say, an environment where teenagers from different cultures, different countries come together. And most of the time, let me tell you, the issues teenagers are facing are same. Probably, the way they express may be different, but the root causes of those things are the same. Most of the time, as most of our speakers said, and all those things, that there are issues which are related to, the fact that their thought process, what they're thinking, is not in conformity with what is happening. That is one thing which is very, very major cause of irritation, especially in the college students. They have their own, they're living in their own world. They want to put their own point of view in front of us, and they believe that, all the teens believe that whatever they are saying is correct, all others are fools. So that is a mindset which many teens have. So as Paul rightly said, empathize them. We have to listen to them. We have to put ourselves in their situation. That okay, this is what we have faced. This is something which we we can relate to, and then say or explaining them. Not just one solution, but giving them choices of solutions. As the ma'am, was here rightly said, that. But at the same time, let me tell you one thing. I don't agree with one particular fact. If he wants to be a singer, let him be a singer. Okay, if he wants to be a choreographer, let him be a choreographer. Well, I want to be a singer, but I'm really bad singer. Are you getting my point? Right. Then I can, if my parents tell me that okay, go and become a singer. Ultimately it will lead to a situation where I'll be totally frustrated. I'll be totally lost. Right. So what I do, I am also father of a teenage daughter. And what I tell them and I emphasize with them is to give them options, and that is very important over there. Give them plans. Okay, this is plan 1A, this is plan B, this is plan C, and whatever you do, in your life, keep your B plan ready. And that is very, very important thing which we need to, emphasize to teenagers, that always, of course, whatever you are doing, wonderful, your thought process, you want to explore that things, yes, go ahead, but keep your plans ready. If that doesn't work, then what? Okay, because ultimately, many things are not in your own hands. I'll just give a simple example. Most of the Indian teachers will, agree with me that many of students do, give NEET exam or JEE exam, CLAT exam, and they don't succeed. Not every student succeed, and then what? Whether that is the end of the world, whether that ends everything, So we have to give them a series of options that are viable, that are doable, and then, without discouraging him. That is very important. As you, one of the speakers rightly said earlier, that we should not, say that, okay, this is impossible, ये आपको नहीं करना, right? करो, लेकिन ये भी देख लो, ये भी plan रखो, because this is also something which you can bank upon, right? So this is what I generally do, and this is, let me tell you, we have students from Indonesia, coming with the same issue with a student from South Sudan, so basically teenagers are teenagers, in every culture, their what do you say, thought process are the same. Only thing is the way they express it may be different, and probably the way we have to explain them is a little bit different, but ultimately the solutions are the same.
Encourage the teenagers, but dissuade them to have only one single plan A. Let them do a little bit more detailed preparation. Let them work on their plan B so that they have a safety net to fall back on. So as a teenager, when you're looking at career choices, when you're looking at people to advise or guide you in selecting a career, be a little more patient. Listen to them. Try to build an understanding that's more inclusive, that's more holistic in approach, because as a parent, or as a counselor who's a little, what you can say, at least senior to in your age, he has seen a little bit more of life, and that could help you. But most importantly, the person who's sharing that experience, don't be stuck with your point of view. Don't be adamant about it. Give them the right kind of space. If they want to reject you, don't get offended. So this was the Blub World Web Talks 170th episode. Now, before this cowl comes to an end, we normally end these calls with a small little story of a teenager that comes from somewhere in the world. So the story for today comes all the way from the US. This story is about a teenager who thought of making candy at home. Just making that candy at home gave her an idea of starting an enterprise. And today, that teenager is known as the candypreneur and somebody who supplies candy in one of the biggest retail chains in the US. Her candy is available all across Walmarts. That's what Blub World does every month, finding teens who can inspire many more teens across the world. We are right now trying to build the world's biggest parliament of teenagers. If you think you have a teenager who can solve a local or a global problem, they're invited to the World Teen Parliament. The only thing that they'll spend is their intelligence to be a part of the World Teen Parliament. We will be training them, mentoring them, and funding them. To see what teens are doing, go to the Facebook group, look at the kind of videos that they're making, and share this opportunity with teens all around you. I hope you enjoyed the last 60 minutes that you were here with us. Thank you so much, everyone, for being a part of the Blub World Web Talks 170th episode. I hope to see all of you once again sometime else with some more new ideas on the Blub World Web Talks. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing evening ahead. Namaste.